In this lab, we are going to explore how to do different hardening techniques on different operating systems. The one in this lab focuses on Windows 10, Ubuntu, most particularly Ubuntu 22, and a type of Cisco business switch. So to begin, let's talk about how to harden Windows. The first thing you should do when hardening Windows is ensuring that your firewall is online and is fully configured. So we can see here our firewall is turned on, but to verify it, we go to this tab right here, the turn Windows Defender on and off, and make sure it was on for private and public networks. This acts as a host-based firewall and ensures that at the OS level we're still protected in case anything else failed on a network level. Next, we want to ensure we get proper updates. Now, you may get this through an update server at a company, but let's say for this scenario we're handling at the local level. To do this, we would open group policy. We would go to our computer configuration, admin templates, Windows components, scroll down and go to Windows Update. And we would make sure to configure automatic updates. Now, this could be handled in update settings, but a best way to do it is make it where people can't change it. So this would be an admin change. We'll double click it. We'll enable this. We're going to say auto download and notify for install. We're going to install during the automatic maintenance, which you can set up in your Windows settings. I'm going to say every day at 3 a.m. if this computer is on, do the updates. And we're also going to install updates for the Microsoft products. That way, all of our Microsoft products in this computer are always up to date. I'm going to apply and we'll hit OK. Now our updates are fully configured. If we went to our update settings, we can see now, if we go to base update, we see now the settings being managed by our admin team. Great. Next, we want to make sure everyone on this computer has a secure password with the secure password policy. Now, normally you would do this through a domain or some sort of radius server or an LDAP server, but for this case, we're going to look at the local OS level. So we're going to go to local security policy. We're going to go to our account policies and our password policy. We're gonna make it where they can only they have to use 5 different passwords before they can repeat the same password. So they can't use the same password every single time. Okay, we're going to make it to where they must change their password every 60 days. Because we're only doing single factor here. So since we're only relying on passwords, they need to rotate passwords. Now, if we were doing like PIN or a token or a physical secure token of some sort, we probably wouldn't rotate passwords, but since passwords are only protection, we're going to rotate them. We're going to make sure that they must use complex passwords, so uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters, all that good stuff. And we're going to make sure that they do a secure password length. So I'm going to do 12, but your organization policy would say how long passwords have to be. Alright, so that's that done. Next, we're going to audit our services. So we're going to go to services.msc to see our services running on the system. And we'll want to see if we have a few really bad ones running. The first one being remote registry, which allows a person to remotely access our computer registry, basically hive of the system, and make changes. Unless someone said this okay in your organization, and you should say it's okay, so it should be someone above you, this should always be disabled unless absolutely required. We don't want people touching our registry remotely. The next one would be Windows Remote Management, which is right here. Now, this allows us to do remote management on the Windows machine. This may be needed if we're doing different types of services and want to push different things remotely. However, in our environment, it is not required, so we are going to disable it. Just plug up those holes. Alright, so that's pretty much basic Windows hardening. There's more to that. Of course, SciPatron OK Cup will go way more into that. But for the time being, we'll head to Ubuntu. So and our Ubuntu machine, there's a few things you want to do. First things first, let me make this a bit bigger for you all. First things first, we want to make sure that we have secure updates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do sudo software, and then hit the tab button and do software-properties-gdk. Type in my password. And this is how I choose what updates I get. Now on a company machine, you probably only want to do the canonical updates and the computing maintained updates. These bottom two are usually related to non-company related software unless they're needed for your company. But in general, these top two, the main and universe, are the main ones that if you wanted a secure, piracy-free machine, you probably want to worry about those. On our updates, we want to make sure we subscribe to all updates or at the minimum security recommended updates. We'll check that daily, download automatically, and then for big updates, we'll do that weekly. We'll hit close. We're going to reload our app properties to get our new software. And I'm not going to run updates in this tutorial, but I'll show you the commands to run. So you do sudo apt update to grab your repositories that we just configured. And then you do apt upgrade to install all of the new updates for your system. I'm going to do no, but if you want to install it, you push Y. I'm going to push N for no. Excellent. Next thing we're going to check is our services and Linux. And to do that, we're going to do sudo services --status all. Oh, excuse me. Sudo service --all. And this shows us all the running services in Linux. Base Linux is not going to have anything insane running, but it's always a good thing to audit every now and then to see what's running. Is there anything suspicious running? For example, are we running a web server? We're not a web server. But this is a quick, easy way to see all the services running your system and audit them as needed. Alrighty, so the last OS we're going to cover will be emulated Cisco Business Switch. So give me 1 second to switch over to that. And here we are. It asks for username and a password. There are none. Just hit login. And any change you make on this is completely fake. It's not real. It doesn't actually exist. So it's just more of a visual demo. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go to our port management here on the side. And these are all the ports on our switch. You can see we have 52 ports. Let's say, for example, we aren't going to use port 5 anymore. We're going to take it down for service, or we just don't need that port on anymore. We probably don't want it to be open all the time because anyone could plug the device into that port and connect to our network, which could show a security threat. So we're going to select this, the little radio light there, and we're going to click the little edit button, the little pen and paper. And I'm going to say, hey, as an admin, we're taking this port down. This will ensure that if anyone plugs into it, it wouldn't work. It would look like a dead port. I'm going to hit apply. Nothing's going to change. It's just an emulation, and that'll be the same for you. I'm going to hit apply, and that's how it would work on the switch. Next thing, we're going to configure some port security. So I'm going to go to security, then port security. And I'm going to go to port 1. And I'm going to edit the port security settings. So what I'm going to do is change how many basically media access control or MAC addresses are allowed on the switch. So how many it minimizes. So 5 people who might plug in the different ports, like ports publicly on the floor, I probably want to set this high. However, if I have it set to a server, I probably only want to be 1 because that server should never be unplugged. So that way, if someone unplugged the server and plugged into it, it would see a different MAC address and then fail. I'm going to go for something in the middle ground here. We're going to imagine that port 1 is in an office, so it might switch occasionally. So I'm going to say it can remember 3 MAC addresses. However, if a 4th device gets plugged in, shut down the port, lock it down, fail closed. That way we have some range, as it might get unplugged, people move computers. But if a lot of devices constantly get unplugged, we might want to go see what's going on. But remember, in a server or a very static configuration where something's plugged in and left and should never change, this should be set to 1. Because if it gets unplugged and plugged back in somewhere else, that might be an attempted attack. So hit apply. And it won't save. We talked about that already. The last thing we're going to do is some virtual LANs. So virtual LANs allow us to do network segmentation. It allows us to separate traffic between different interfaces. That way, if one part of the network got attacked, we all won't go down, only that segment would go down. So I'm going to go to our VLAN settings. You see we already have a few configured, and I'm going to make a new one. So I'm going to hit this little plus icon to make a new one. I'm going to call it VLAN 20. And I'm going to call it isolated network. Like that. And this could be for my IoT devices, my SCADA devices, things that I want off my normal network. That way, if they got attacked or someone tried to DOS my entire network from them, they'd only be able to touch the stuff on this VLAN. It's a great way to largely separate a network. That way we don't have to worry about all of the pieces going down at once. We can say, oh, VLAN 20 just went down. Let's go ahead and do instant response. We might be under attack. That concludes our hardening tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know.